Alright, good evening everyone. I'm back with one last Redux video from my Pokemon Draft League. Now, you might have noticed I have this video titled 7b, and the previous one I uploaded was round 3. Where did those other battles go? The thing is, after I made each battle, but before I made one of these videos, I would ask each of my opponents if they were okay with me doing one of these Battle Redux videos. And basically, opponents, 4 through 6 either haven't responded or said no. So that's why I've come on to opponent number 7 here, and they also asked just to look at the second of our 2 battles as opposed to doing both. So that's what I'm doing. So my opponent this time around, excuse me, let me tell you what team they had drafted, so what I was building for here. The team they had drafted consisted of Dragapult, Slowking, Salamence, Mineshaow, Ribombee, Bisharp, Heliolisk, Nidoqueen, Vileplume, and Lycanroc Dusk. So that was their team. Pretty even mix. It's got 2 of the pseudo-legendary dragons in there, so that immediately might jump out as a threat. Slowking is always pretty good. Mineshaow is pretty good, even though it's a lower tier. It's very fast. It hits hard. Ribombee certainly has the possibility for speed control with Sticky Web. So I have to think about that. Bisharp, again, something that can hit really strong physical attacker, especially if it gets set up. Heliolisk is just an interesting utility guy. Nidoqueen, it hits hard just like Nidoking does if you've got Sheer Force Life Orb. There we go, I can speak. Lycanroc Dusk, again, really fast physical attacker. And then their Vileplume. Their team name actually was the Vienna Vileplumes. So that's kind of their mascot, and they made good use of Vileplume throughout much of the league so far. So that was another thing I certainly had to consider coming in, as well as their fast physical attackers, or in the case of Dragapult, fast special attacker. So how did I end up building for this team? Well, what I've got here is more or less kind of typical builds that you've seen me do so far, just with tweaks here and there. So you've got your Volcarona with heavy duty boots and Quiver Dance. Fire type attack, I used Flamethrower instead of Fiery Dance, because you can kind of see by the stats I put in here. I decided this Volcarona was not going to be a bulky Rona. It was going to be more offensively focused. With a little bit of defense, I forget exactly what I had calced this defense to be tanking, but it's there. And otherwise, speed and special attack investment. So that's why I have Flamethrower instead of Fiery Dance. Giga Drain was there. Oh, what did I say for Giga Drain? Giga Drain, I think when I built this, so Giga Drain, yeah, somewhat there for Slowking. Also there somewhat for Lycanroc Dusk. I must have built to Hidden Accelerock or something like that. I don't even know if that works because I didn't do it bulky. Yeah, but you might have asked why not Bug Buzz, because Bug Buzz would hit Slowking even harder and might actually help with some others. I honestly don't really remember what my thought process was. I went back and forth for this team so many times when I was building. But then there's Psychic in there to deal with the likes of Mineshaow and Nidoqueen, and Vileplume, and of course the fire attacks will deal with Vileplume as well. But the reason I have Psychic on there is because if I had a build that included, a fire attack, a grass attack, and a bug attack, I would have real trouble dealing with either of the dragons. So I put Psychic on there not only to deal with Mineshaow and Vileplume and Nidoqueen, but also just in case to have something neutral against the dragons if I had happened to get a Quiver Dance off before the dragon came into play. Tyranitar here, Assault Vest set. Nothing too incredible there, just bulky, with the health and a strong attack to go with it. Corviknight, you've seen this build before. Clefable, generally, again, fairly typical. Bulky Clefable here on the physically defensive side. Then we get down here to Amoonguss. Amoonguss is actually kind of flexible. I've used many different sets for Amoonguss. Again, you've seen me, I've done some specking out with the stats here. And again, I've got a little bit of a special defense boost for Amoonguss. I forget exactly, again, what I built it for, because it's been a while since I did the building itself. But you'll notice the attacks that you almost always, well, I can't even say almost always, because Amoonguss has so many good moves. So the set you're seeing here is Spore, Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, Stun Spore. But you might also very often see, Synthesis, Synthesis, Foul Play, or Clear Smog, and I've used each of those moves in some of my other battles. This one, what I did, is focusing on dual status here with the Spore and the Stun Spore, because there are some of my opponent's Pokemon that I would certainly want to slow down, and others where getting a few turns of sleep to switch and do some setup is another option. So I have to think about being very judicious in how I use my status here with Amoonguss. Lastly, what we've got here is just a Choice Band Mamoswine. Emphasis on the speed here, because I want to make sure I can try to outspeed as much as I can. And the Choice Band gives me the attack power I think I would otherwise need to hit a lot of my opponent's Pokemon hard. So that is the overall build here. And again, you'll notice I didn't really reference many of my opponent's Pokemon while making this team. And reason being is, I was having trouble really predicting what they would use, so I'm more built to try to deal with as many threats in an okay fashion as opposed to build specifically to, I want to take out X, Y, and Z. So as I said, we did 2 battles with this person like everyone else, and I'm not showing the first battle. I can, flip it on here. You can notice that we had the exact same Pokemon first battle and second battle. I did do a little. Let's see. Did I do shift? I forget. Did I do? Okay, so no. I have a V1B here for their team, but that's because I'd actually done a build for this person way back when the league started, well before I actually battled them. And after the league went on, I tweaked it enough that I felt it deserved a new team without calling it version 2 because I hadn't actually battled them yet. So yeah, we just came in. I came in with the exact same set in Battle 2. I don't recall if my opponent shifted any of their Pokemon around. I'm going to narrate this battle as if, for the most part, as if I've forgotten the first battle, although I will make a few references throughout. But yeah, so let's get in and start showing off this battle. So we open up. He's put out his Dragapult, and I've got out my Corviknight. Immediately, I'm worried about getting a Fire Blast to the face. So I shift into Tyranitar, and I don't get Fire Blasted, I get Flamethrowered. But Tyranitar is doing its special bulk thing perfectly well. I'm happy with that. And I've got Sand set up now to do some chip damage on my opponents. Now, of course, he's got 3 Pokemon here that aren't going to worry about Sandstorm at all, but whatever. My thought now is, what am I going to do to attack next? If you remember my set, I can hit Dragapult with, a Crunch or an Ice Punch for super effective. I've also got my Rock move and my Earthquake as well. So what do I use next? Well, he might be anticipating the Crunch, so he's probably going to shift. Looking at his other Pokemon, he's got 3 Pokemon that would be weak to Earthquake. One Pokemon that would be neutral to it. And I wasn't really sure what was coming up next. So even though Earthquake might have a higher chance of being super effective, and Crunch wouldn't do much on the Mind Shower, I do end up deciding to use Crunch on the next turn, and he ended up sending out Nidoqueen. So Earthquake would have helped there, but whatever. So right now I'm worried about Earth Power, obviously, and I switch into Corviknight. Earth Power is what comes. Now, I think right here, if I recall correctly, I think in the previous battle I might have seen a Fire move on the Nidoqueen. So what I'm going to do next is, here I'm thinking, what is going to be the best Pokemon to take a Fire move? Well, I could send out Tyranitar again, but he might protect that and do another Earth Power. I could send out Clefable, but of course, sending out a fairy into a poison type that has Sludge Wave is not going to be a good idea. I didn't feel like risking my Volcarona yet, so that kind of left, Amoonguss or Mamoswine. And of course, my Amoonguss was not built specially defensive. My Mamoswine had thick fat, and while I was in the battle here, remember, this has been a while since I did the team build, I thought my Mamoswine was Assault Vested. So I thought, between Assault Vest and Thick Fat, Mamoswine can tank a Flamethrower. And you're probably already seeing one of the problems with that. It's not Assault Vested, it's Choice Band, and then the critical hit comes in, so my Mamoswine is now already down to the red. That was a horrible play in my book. So yeah, not sure how that went about. Amoonguss might have been the better play there, especially because I have Regenerator, but I also, I could have anticipated an Ice Beam coming up next or another Flamethrower, and, 2 super effective against Amoonguss in a row probably was not going to go over well anyway. Volcarona might have been the best play there, because it would have been neutral to the Flamethrower, and I might have gotten a chance to start setting up. I don't know. Actually, I do know. You'll see later that wouldn't have been a good move either. But, so now my Mamoswine is hurting quite a bit. Unless it directly outspeeds something, it's not going to be much use, except for the fact that it does have Ice Shard. And I think Ice Shard is what I do next here. Yes. And he sends out Bisharp, because it's going to do very nicely. I'm not sure what he might have been anticipating, because if I had chosen to use Earthquake, that would have completely killed the Bisharp. He must have been anticipating Icicle Crash, or Ice Shard. I don't know, something to that effect. Because if he was anticipating Earthquake, he certainly could have gone to Salamence and just taken it neutral. But Salamence has that 4 times weakness to Ice, and even Dragapult is weak to Ice to an extent as well. So I'm assuming he was gambling there that I would not be using Earthquake. So Bisharp, I want to keep Mamoswine alive at least for a little bit, and Corviknight can take anything Bisharp gives out, which is why I switched. He used Sucker Punch. Maybe at that point he was anticipating the Earthquake. So he starts trying to set up, and here's a misplay by me. I was honestly anticipating him to switch, because he knows I have Body Press. So I was thinking, he's going to send in, Dragapult doesn't take anything to Body Press, and, Salamence at least will take, half, and it'll also intimidate me, although that doesn't matter for Body Press. I was fully anticipating him to switch. And so maybe that's why he thought he could set up. So he does there, which is kind of unfortunate for me. I'm back up to full, but I won't be for a moment, because he comes in with a knockoff. Takes off more than half of my health, and obviously gets rid of my leftovers. I do make the kill with Body Press this turn. So I've sacrificed a little bit of positioning just to get rid of the Bisharp. Now again, I'm thinking, here comes the Flamethrower. And so I'm going to switch to Tyranitar, and my opponent anticipates this. Instead of using Flamethrower, he comes in with Draco Meteor, and only does about a third to my specially defensive Assault Vest Tyranitar here. Oh, you know what? Yeah. Assault Vest, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know why I thought Mamoswine also had Assault Vest, because we do have the items limit here. I don't know, so I'm really not sure what was going on with that play earlier. Anyway, so now his Dragapult's really weakened. I can, in theory, come in with any attack I want right now. Now, I went with Crunch last time, so I think he's probably anticipating a Crunch again. And, well, hang on. What am I thinking here? I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, so I think, here's what's happened. I learned my lesson last time, I think, because I was going, so he saw me do Crunch, so he's going to make a switch. I saw the switch to Nidoqueen last time, so I'm thinking I'm going to do with the Earthquake. But those two things play into each other differently this time, because even though I used Earthquake anticipating the Nidoqueen, Salamence is the one to come out this time. So he mixed it up, which was good on my opponent there. And I waste the turn with an Earthquake. Now again, I have an Ice Punch, which I could use and just hope that the 4 times does damage. but I'm kind of worried about an Earthquake here. I send out Clefable instead of Corviknight, just because I know that Salamence also has a Fire attack, and I didn't want to, play into the predictions much. He doesn't use a Fire attack or Earthquake. He's dual Wing Beat. So he was anticipating a switch, but he wasn't anticipating Corviknight. I don't think he was anticipating Mamoswine. Dual Wing Beat only works great against Volcarona or Amoonguss. So I honestly don't know if he switched attacks this time up, and was trying to threaten me with something else and psych me out. But Dual Wing Beat doesn't do much to my Clefable. Now right here again, I have a Fairy threatening a Dragon with a Moonblast, so he's going to make the sensible switch here to Nidoqueen, because I don't have much I can do against a Nidoqueen. He doesn't know if I have Flamethrower or Thunderbolt, but neither of them will do much to Nidoqueen either way. I'd still take out a good enough chunk, and I risk the Earth Power there because I really was anticipating that Sludge Wave. But now I am worried about Earth Power, and I think this is the opportunity where I make another switch. Yes, so I'm making a switch on this turn, but he also is. So I don't know if he was thinking that my Tyranitar was going to be faster than the Nidoqueen. Does not have the potential to be, so he must have been anticipating the switch into something. And I forget what the Nidoqueen... well, I wasn't going to switch into Mamoswine, because Mamoswine was already at low health and Nidoqueen would have killed it with whatever. I think he was just doing a generic switch for positioning here, but obviously this has not worked out well for me. So the Nidoqueen, I switched into Volcarona because I was thinking, maybe I can tank whatever, Fire attack comes into Volcarona and start setting up with Quiver Dance, or at least getting a Psychic off. This double switch completely threw me off, though, and that might have been the point. Anyway, as you can probably tell, I do not want to stay into Salamence with my Volcarona. If I had Quiver Dance before, I maybe could have gotten a Psychic off. Might have been a possibility, but definitely not something I want to see right now. So I switch into Clefable again, because I know it can tank Dual Wing Beat pretty well. And I'm threatening it with the Moonblast again, but I anticipate the switch and get off a Soft Boiled instead. Now I don't want Sludge Wave, so I switch, and actually, why did I switch into Volcarona there? Now I remember why. So it was, I'm sure he knew I was going to switch, so I was anticipating, Flamethrower for Corviknight or something to that effect. Because if he thought I was using Earth Power, Corviknight makes the most sense. So I was anticipating Flamethrower, but he does use the Earth Power, which happens to do more damage to Volcarona than Flamethrower does, just because of stab. So I'm hurting a little bit here, but I do get the opportunity to just take out Nidoqueen. That Life Orb Sheer Force is tough. Get rid of that with Psychic, so the Dusk comes out. Now here, I don't know if he's going to use Accelerock or Stone Edge. Either way, it would take out Volcarona. It'll make more sense to switch into one of my physically defensive ones, either Corviknight or Amoonguss. And I believe at this point I choose Amoonguss, yes. Because I don't necessarily know what else Lycanroc can do, but the physically defensive Amoonguss tanks a Stone Edge pretty well. Now my opponent comes in with a Psychic Fangs, which I was not anticipating. I did not see that in the first battle. Takes out a massive amount on my Amoonguss, but you'll see I got lucky on this turn and used Stun Spore on one of the Pokemon I intended on using Stun Spore for. Now there was a lot to think about for that particular turn, because now I have a Grass type threatening a Rock type. So he could have switched here. And the question for me then was, did I want to Stun Spore and try to slow down Lycanroc? Or, maybe Stun Spore would have helped on almost any of the opposing Pokemon. The other possibility was to use Spore and, maybe prevent setup or give me the opportunity for my own setup. And I felt like I didn't want, if he was going to do any switches here, I didn't want him to choose what I spored and put to sleep. So that's why I used Stun Spore here. And it worked out relatively well for me. Now at this point, because Amoonguss is hurting from the Psychic Fangs, at this point is where I believe I switch into Corviknight. Once the turn ends and we go through it. Yes, Corviknight. And I think I get lucky this first time because the paralysis kicks in. So this is an opportunity for me to roost. He sends out Salamence. Completely makes sense. Because, Body Press won't do much to Salamence. It won't do anything to Dragapult. And that's one thing I've been interested in. He usually has been sending out Salamence from my Corviknight instead of Dragapult. And I'm not sure exactly why. I guess the Salamence is more physically bulky and more likely to tank Brave Birds. Now, he uses Earthquake on Corviknight, which is a little silly. He must have been anticipating a switch. He might have thought I was going to get scared out for a fire move. At this point, I didn't. And actually, the Earthquake was certainly, he was almost certainly expecting Tyranitar there. But I get to get off a Brave Bird and take out a good chunk of damage. At this point, I'm thinking, I'm physically defensive, he's not going to do much to me, and I'm doing a good chunk of damage to it. Now, I hadn't thought that through very well, because that was a critical hit. So not only was it extra damage, but it ignored my attack drop at the time. So this next turn, you'll see me do another Brave Bird, and it doesn't do nearly as much as it did 2 turns ago, which will prompt me then, I need to do my own switching. And because of what I've seen previously, I'm going to send in Clefable. Because we've already known it can tank Brave Birds pretty well, or to tank Dual Wing Beats pretty well. And I can threaten it with the Moonblast. He comes in with Earthquake, also does not do much, and I get the kill. And let's see, what stage of the battle entered next? I think Lycanroc comes back out, and yeah, I'm going to switch back into Corviknight, because again, I'm nice and physically defensive. He gets paralyzed, which is good for me. Now, this next turn is going to be interesting. I'm going to come in, at this point, I think, with the Body Press. And yes, I do not kill it. And Lycanroc did a good chunk against Corviknight with Stone Edge. So this next turn, I'm thinking, all right, let me get a Roost in, and I can continue attacking later. Now, there's one thing about Stone Edge. It has a high chance of critical hits. And this is, I think that is the first time my Corviknight's been knocked out. Let me check. Hang on, I'm going to go back and check the stat thing here. We have a nice spreadsheet of all of the stats for our battles here. Yeah, that is the first and only time in this entire league that my Corviknight has been knocked out. So that was greatly unfortunate. So what I do next is I send in Mamoswine. I could have sent in... Well, actually, yeah, I'm not sure any of the others would have helped, because I think even with Lycanroc paralyzed... oh no, my Volcarona would have been able to outspeed it, but I wouldn't want to see an Accelerock. So I decided to send out Mamoswine, because I can kill it with an Ice Shard, and because it's paralyzed, Accelerock won't outspeed Ice Shard, so that's going to be what happens next. And he's going to send in Dragapult, which interests me because I think the Mine Chow probably would have been a slightly better option right there. Not sure exactly why Dragapult came out instead of Mine Chow. But I'm thinking, okay, Dragapult's damaged. I've got a Choice Band Ice Shard. This should work pretty well. It survives with 1%. Now, I've done the calcs on this. And if my Mamoswine had Adamant instead of Jolly, I would have almost certainly made the kill here. Because he had like 89% health, and Adamant Choice Band Ice Shard would have done minimum 87. As it was actually a relatively lucky roll for me. It wasn't near the max damage I could have done, but it was kind of mid-ground, maybe above mid-ground. So the fact that this 1% is unlucky in one sense, but also I should be thankful I did the damage I did, I guess. And so he comes back in and kills Mamoswine now with the Flamethrower. Now, you'll see I'm going to send out Clefable next, and I'm going to pause the battle here. Because what's happening at this point is that I know Mine Chow is fast. And I don't know what all of its attacks are, but Amoonguss is low on health. I mean, it'll regenerate some when I send it back out, but it's still pretty low on health as it is. Tyranitar is at half and will absolutely die to a fighting type move. And Volcarona is also at less than half. And if this Mind Chow has any rock type moves, because I do believe it does get some, then Volcarona is in trouble as well. Mind Chow also gets Poison Jab, which could hurt my Clefable a lot. Now, my Poison Jab is, again, not a stab move, and my Clefable is physically defensive. So what I'm doing now for the rest of the battle, basically, is alternating between Soft Boiled and Calm Mind so that I get Clefable up to enough health so that I'm confident it will survive a Poison Jab. And let's see. So let's start playing here, and that's basically what you're going to see here. Thankfully, Flamethrower does not kill Clefable, so that was a very close call on my part. But I figured if I didn't get Clefable up to good enough health, Mind Chow was going to sweep the rest of my team. So you start seeing me do some Calm Mind so I can tank the Flamethrowers better. I do get burned, but I made my Clefable with Magic Guard so the burn doesn't bother me too much. Healing up some more, and I think I do one more. Oh, no, I'm going to do one more Soft Boiled, and then I'm going to go in for the Moonblast kills. And so, yeah, that was the 14th battle of mine of this draft league, which is now, I've got title 7B here in the video title. And yeah, it was honestly a lot of my battles were very good, but I managed for the most part to avoid any feints, or usually avoid many feints. I think so for the first two battles, the first two videos that I posted, one of them was split 9-9 in terms of feints. The other one was split 12-4, not in my favor. Since then, I think the two feints that you're seeing in this battle were feints 3 and 4 for the entire rest of the season for me. So I've had some luck on my side, definitely in some places, but I've managed most of the league pretty well. And in fact, if you go just by win-loss rate, I ended up placing second on our ladder. I'm actually third overall because I think I mentioned in one of the previous videos, our league uses a point system. So the guy I faced in the very first video that I posted, he actually topped the league because his Mono Ice team, when it did win, earned him lots of bonus points. Very creative team there, and he's done it very effectively. So he's actually at the top of the ladder. Now, actually, tonight we were supposed to have our finals tournament, but I'm sure, people have probably seen that Showdown has not been acting well today. And, our event was supposed to start at 7, and the organizers canceled it at 6 because Showdown was still down at that point. And I believe Showdown is still down even right now. Yeah, it's, not loading here. So, yeah, we didn't get to do our finals tournament. I could potentially make more videos from the finals tournament if and when we do it. But yeah, this is the last battle of the regular season. I hope you guys have enjoyed the videos that I've made so far. I certainly would enjoy playing with other people in the future, and I hope to see you guys around. Take care. Bye.